Hello, and welcome to the Delta Final Developer Commentary. I made this mod I started development on this mod in September of 2024 and finished it in April, I believe. Only a few days before it came out, that's why there were so many bugs. Are we on the Half-Life 2 anniversary branch? Because, like, all the capitalization stuff isn't me, nor is how big this text is. If I ever get around to if I ever find a way to fix that, I probably will. But that might just be an engine thing. I'm probably gonna forget to mention a few things because I've already recorded this this is my 5th time trying to record it. I had I wasn't satisfied with how the first 3 attempts were coming out, and I had horrible audio desynchronization issues with the 4th attempt. Hopefully that is fixed now. I think I found a way to fix it, but thanks Xbox Game Bar for not working properly. About the chapters, I guess I could say, I used, I guess you pronounce it XBLA or whatever, for a few things. I mostly just did all of the file modification myself using the Valve developer community as like a guideline. I did do a few things with the free version of the XBLA tool, including the thumbnails and stuff. Also, sorry if I take brief pauses. I have Discord messages waiting for me.
Hello, and again, welcome to the Aperture Science Computer Aided Enrichment Center. We hope your brief detention in the relaxation vault has been pleasant. You have been released from stasis to participate in some controlled tests on portal technology. Keep in mind, however, that while fun and learning are goals of the Enrichment Center and its activities, serious injuries may occur. Please leave your relaxation vault when you are ready.
Okay, so for starters, we're gonna be in this room for a little while because I have things to say about it that pertain to like most of the mod, or at least a good portion of it. So first, the music. Some of it is custom tracks made by me, but a lot of it is just like standard Half-Life 2 and Portal music. I wanted to go back and replace all of the music, but I just couldn't make anything that I thought sounded good. It was originally going to be like a mix of my two of my favorite songs, but in this sort of this piano melody, I guess. Maybe in the future. I sort of want to update the mod, but if I'm going to do that, I sort of want it to be like a big, massive, all-at-once update. Secondly, this relaxation vault is massive because the mod is based off, like, most of the early chambers at least are based off a Portal 2 like custom test chamber B mod set of levels I made a while ago. They're not public because I ran out of Steam storage space, but a lot of early chambers work on a grid because of this, though there are obviously some slants, and eventually we get to the more experimental half walls. You'll see what I mean. But for now, mostly the chambers line up with sets of 2 tiles, like, if you don't know what I mean, One panel is 64 units across, but in Portal 2, they only let you do like 2 panels at a time. But BMod has ways to work around that. Also, before I move on, the audio. You're not supposed to use ambient generics to do your dialogue. I wanted to like do the proper way where you get subtitles and all that, but I just couldn't figure it out. I spent like a whole week I spent multiple attempts just trying to get face poser working and stuff. I couldn't figure it out, so I had to go for the ambient generic route. But I did do a bit of logic trickery to it, so it's not as noticeable, I guess. It's not as clunky. Alright.
The pedestal button to the left will call an Aperture Science weighted storage cube. These weighted storage cubes can weigh down 1500 megawatt colliding buttons.
Alright, so first off, the whole mod is styled sort of like Portal 2. It's really meant to emulate like mods that came out in 2011, like Heck Chase Nailway, Portal Unity, which that one we'll come back to in a little, because that was like one of the main inspirations, because when I was a cringy child, I used to interact with the creator. If you're out there, Aureus, hi. But it was really meant to emulate those Portal 2, like those Portal 1 mods that had elements of Portal 2, like Portal 2 had just been announced, and we were getting the teasers and all that, but Portal 2 wasn't actually released yet. Everything's Blue is both a nod to Portal Unity, but also because I just love the color blue. Though that's my...
Perfect. Please proceed into the chamber lock after completing each test. First, however, please note the glowing particles emitting from the horizontally arranged generators. This Aperture Science Material Emancipation Grill will vaporize any unauthorized equipment that passes through it. For instance, the Aperture Science weighted storage cube.
That line gave me a bit of a headache, but we'll talk about it when we get to the lifts and stuff. This is my pathetic attempt at the Portal 2 light strip, but like more basic, which I think makes it look sort of like, I don't know, early 2005 beta Portal stuff, like when everything was Combine Run. It almost reminds me of like the harsh spotlights, which was partially what I was going for, but it's just, yeah. There's not really much to say about this room. The line gave me a lot of trouble, and the lift is actually programmed to wait a few moments, but like this line is super duper long, and you're probably not going to hear all of it unless you like actually just stop and let it finish, which is a bit unfortunate. And about the lifts, they are like one of the buggiest parts of the mod, and they are like this because they are meant to be designed after the Portal 2 prototype lifts, which just use like the not the unstationary scaffold, but like the piston platforms to get to chamber to chamber. I would replace them with the regular Portal 1 elevators, because those aren't hard to make. They're just like a lot of variables, but once you get it down, you're good to go. But that would mean just restructuring all of the levels at this point, which is just, I can't do that. Maybe for a remake, but that's not gonna happen anytime soon. Maybe.
In a brief moment, 2 oval-shaped openings will be generated by the frames mounted on the walls in this chamber. These are portals. They are interlinked points in space that connect to each other. Use them to solve the puzzle in this room.
These are the original 2005 beta portals. Someone dumped them online, like all of the portal variants. If you're going to do development, I suggest, like, if you want to use the beta portals in your mod, I would suggest maybe waiting. Well, actually, no, never mind. I would not put them in your base portal custom folder. I would put them in the mod folder to start with, because some of them don't have, like, the model data that pertains to, like, the auto portals, and if you try placing them in editor, they will crash. So I would recommend not putting the beta portals inside of your base Portal 1 custom folder. Secondly, this is meant to be a sort of... It's meant to be like the moment in Portal 1 where you see yourself through the portals. I want to tutorialize portals. It's sort of like this is 1, an alternate universe. 2, I'd assume Aperture would be kind enough to not make your first, like, test chambers absolute hell. Of course, out of universe, all of this will probably be played by seasoned Portal players, but, you know, just in case you need a brief refresher, or you've never played Portal before. Which, yeah. This was also the first test chamber I teased back in September. I already had the idea to, like, do a Delta back when it was just the prototype and the whole mod didn't exist. I already had the idea. Like, I was bad at Hammer at the time, but at some point I went and made the relaxation vault, and then I don't remember when that was, but nearing the end of subject name here's like development cycle, I was confident enough and was, like, into it enough to want to actually try making this mod. So I had, like, no break time between subject name here and Delta Final.
Well done. Please note that portals have been proven to be completely safe.
I don't know what else to say yet. But we'll probably get there. I'll have more stuff to say as we go along. I don't have to say it right now. More music. If there's any random pauses, it's because I have Discord messages waiting for me. I'll try to make them seamless as possible, but there'll probably still be pauses.
Very good. You are now in possession of the Aperture Science handheld portal device. The device has been calibrated to manufacture blue portals. Use it to reach the chamber lock.
I probably didn't put it on the pedestal correctly. Weird graphical errors. I don't know what that's about. This chamber... Well, for starters, a lot of the early test chambers, especially, are based off... Let me stop this music. I wish I had time to replace this music, but I didn't. I wanted something to play when you got in here, but I didn't have any time to redo the music after I realized how bad it was. This chamber is meant to be... First, let's start with how you enter. You enter here, like the elevator rises up, and there's no dialogue spoken. Animate, which is the name of my stupid ass self-insert. There is no dialogue spoken by your guide. We'll talk about animate later. Which is meant to build more curiosity, because the portal gun is just right here. And in Portal 1, Gladys, like, makes you stop and notice, but I went for a different approach. Secondly, the way the room is laid out. You drop down into this pit to get the portal gun, and there's glass in your way to get you, like, you can't get to the exit. There's glass in your way, and then a portal spawns up on this ledge. This is meant to emulate Chamber Free from Portal 1, where you have to first fire a portal to get up to this ledge, and then you fire a portal across the room, and then go back through the purple portal. And it's just weird how it's such a basic concept of both portals being entrance and exit is like not really something that players assume. It's really weird. I didn't talk about it in the last chamber, but I'm pretty sure you have control of the blue portal via the buttons in the last chamber, and the first portal you go through is blue, and then for the rest of the test chamber you have to enter the purple portal to get to any of the other rooms, or get to anywhere else. Alright, now let's talk about my influence a little more.
Please note the sparsely placed dark and metallic walls found in this chamber. These metal surfaces will not conduct portals fired at them.
This is just a big rip on Portal Unity. There were a lot more references in the prototype version that I took out. This one is the only one that remains, which is a shame. If I went and overhauled the mod today, this chamber would be different, because it's just too obvious of a rip.
Once again, excellent work. You're well on your way to becoming a great test subject.
Like, even that line is just... That's more subtle, but it's supposed to be a, well done, you're well on your way becoming a top-notch test subject, which is what Persephone says in Portal Unity's Chamber Free. Which, this is Chamber Free, because Chamber 2 does the job of Portal 1's Chamber 2 and Chamber Free, so I felt like it didn't need to be... I just felt like we could already move on to moving stuff through portals. Also, the first line that Animate says in this chamber is about the metal, which I always found it weird that Gladys never brings the metal surfaces up. I mean, it's pretty obvious, like, what they do, like, they don't allow portals on them, and that's a pretty obvious trait, because you get to see that firsthand in Chamber 6 onwards. But Gladys just never actually says anything about it, which I thought was really weird. Also, it's still hidden in the VMF files, like the viz groups. This wall used to be glass, and there used to be a little, like, glass half panel. Maybe in the next video I go over Delta Final, and I'll actually take a look at the VMF files for all this. You can't see it. Obviously, each purple portal closes when you enter the elevator.
The Enrichment Center regrets to inform you that this next test might be impossible. Make no attempt to solve it.
This is the impossible chamber. I wish it was designed a little better. This one was also just taken from the prototype.
We once again apologize for this likely unsolvable test environment. Excellent. You
I'll just
remained
let him speak now.
and resourceful in an atmosphere of extreme pessimism.
It does the job, but I don't know. I wish I redesigned this. After Chamber 15, we'll stop seeing direct copies from the prototype. This observation room is on the corner, which made it a lot harder to accomplish, but I got it done. And we'll see in a few chambers a more janky implementation of an observation room.
The Aperture Science highly compressed energy pellet can be used to power receptacles like the one in this chamber. Well done. You, subject, name, here, must be the pride of, subject, hometown, here.
Part of me feels like this chamber is just way too easy. I know that's how it's like in Portal 1, but I don't know. There's a reason why I only did this type of puzzle once, where it's just place one portal, because it feels way too easy for a puzzle at all. It's just place one portal and then the lift gets activated. Like there's a second panel here just to make it seem like you have more options. I'll talk about the metal textures that I made / chose when we get to Chamber 21. Let me just double check something real quick first. Alright, we're back. Sorry, I just had to check to be sure my audio wasn't desyncing.
Please be advised that the high energy pellet can have adverse reactions to organic matter upon contact. Please be careful.
Okay, I'm gonna stop that. What you were hearing was, it was based on a track from the Audionautics library called Emerald Therapy. The final version, the version I made, is called Energy Therapy, but I think it's named differently in the files. If you look at the files, you can tell that some things got swapped around, mostly the music. Secondly, this is one of my favorite early stage chambers. Just because it's sort of like the previous chamber, but with a twist in that this just raises up and you can't stop it. Let me go over here real quick.
The Enrichment Center apologizes for any dangers you may encounter during the testing cycle.
Animate is based on me, and back in the original story concepts, before, I was writing this with a friend, but he left, so I redid a lot of the story. It's based on me because when I used to have my friends play my portal maps, and I would essentially be the guide instead of Gladys. I would live narrate, which was incredibly hard, by the way. If you're going to do that, I recommend at least having a script. Also, the diamond-shaped lights reappear up here. This time they are like directly used as a 2005 spotlight replacement. Also, this is off, this upper area. I wanted to make this have a corner window, but I did not do it correctly. So this wall is now 8 more units wide, or 8 more units longer, I guess, than it should be. This is the only instance of that in the entire thing. When I noticed, it was like far too late. Alright. The fact that there is no like proper chamber lock up here is also completely accidental.
The floor of this chamber is filled with a dangerous corrosive liquid. Please be careful.
We'll get to it when we come to chamber 16, but in the prototype, and obviously seen throughout the mod,
quickly to the chamber lock. Next test will be far less dangerous.
As seen throughout the mod, there was a lot of emphasis on like moving pistons, like moving floors and stuff. It was mostly just because of wanting custom mechanics, but when I was developing the prototype, I was inexperienced with Hammer, so I went for easier mechanics to like try and replicate, but those eventually did get swapped out with what we have currently. And these are just leftover. What else? I mean, I guess I can't go back there. This is the only way to get over here normally, unless you want to like sidestep. Simply to show players that they can use portals on both the floor and ceiling. I guess they haven't technically seen any on the floor yet, but, you know. Ascension.
This chamber requires understanding of momentum to complete it.
This was like the most shown off chamber in the ModDB videos. I'm pretty sure in the thumbnail for this chamber, it's still the old non-custom chamber sign. You'll see that throughout a lot of the like in development screenshots, that it's the older, like it's the stock Portal 1 test chamber signs. That's because the test chamber signs were actually done like as one of the last things. They were done with all of the chambers complete. Again, this is like my 5th or 6th attempt at recording this, so a lot of what I'm saying now is just me trying to remember what I said in previous attempts at this, but it was only this year that it dawned on me. Like this tangent is completely unrelated, but it was only this year that it really dawned on me that the reason why there's only 19 chambers in Portal is because there's actually technically 20. They just start counting at 0. That means there's an uneven amount, or I don't know, is it uneven? Regardless, there's technically 26 chambers in Delta Final, but of course we start counting at 0 again. What else? Oh yeah, just during development, the chamber signs were the default ones because just there were a lot of changes in a few changes in the amount of how many test chambers there would be. I'll probably talk about that when I get to those test chambers, but I was starting to like really slow down with ideas nearing the end.
Momentum is a function of mass and velocity, which is conserved between portals. Essentially, speedy thing goes in, speedy thing comes out.
If you do it down the center. Also, Fizzlers, it's... I wouldn't say it's weird. It's just convenient. But in Chamber 10, the momentum chamber in Portal 1, there's like really no explanation to why your portal gun resets, if you know what I mean. There's no explanation towards why your portal's clear between rooms. Also, I didn't do it correctly. If you have your portal placed just right, you can actually just get launched into this room.
You can use portals to redirect or build up momentum.
My friend who doesn't do any sort of valve modding was pretty amazed when I said that most of the stuff in Portal is just done using doors, really. Also, Self-Esteem Fund is playing, which is...
You should now have mastery of all basic Portal mechanics.
One of the only tracks that even if I were going to go back and replace all the music, this is one of the tracks I would keep in. Also, a lot of Animate's lines pertaining to like teaching the player are like direct references to Gladys's lines to sort of... During Portal 1, Gladys is essentially like she's trying to fake being a pre-recorded series of messages, and I'd assume she's just like reading from a script essentially. And in this world, even though it's an alternate timeline, it's supposed to insinuate that it's still similar and that the supposed script that's being read from is like nearly identical. So this is the first of the many chambers that were done after development of the prototype.
What you see in this chamber is the Aperture Science Security Protocol Sentry Turret. These turrets fire at anything it is programmed to deem hostile. For example, you. Please try to avoid their fire.
This chamber came from a map series I was working on called Office Job. It was my first foray into Portal 1 Hammer at all, really. I never finished it. I don't plan... I sort of want to finish it, but a lot of what it consisted of was pretty janky, and also, like, the two best chambers in the entire set of maps that I made, I ported into Delta Final, which are this chamber and the upcoming chamber. Originally in the prototype, it was Chamber 14 that actually introduced the turrets, but there were... I'll probably get to it when we do the prototype, but there was some reordering.
There you are.
Mostly just stuff being moved either to be earlier.
Searching. Searching. Now good night. Uh-oh. Sentry
Just the
mode
neighbors.
activated. Lost. Please put me down. Sleep mode
You can be a pacifist to all turrets besides 6 of them.
There you are. Target lost.
I don't think any...
Good night.
I'm sure people have noticed this, actually, never mind. But
Could you come over?
something I find interesting is that... And this isn't like a mod thing, this is just how the engine works. Turrets can see you. Like, they'll continue firing at you, even if you're using a cube, like, as a shield and you're holding it. But if you place the cube down in front of you and hide behind it, they will not be able to tell you're there.
Down. Are you still there?
Also, this radio is supposed to be playing Brain Scan, but, I probably arrived too late for that to really matter.
Search. Hey. Are you still there? Sleep mode activated.
Another instance of no dialogue from your guide, but this time it's supposed to be ominous. Like, more ominous. Also, in the original Office Job version, there's actually a Ratman done here, but, and there was also, some X's and, like, help signs. In the final version, I don't know, I didn't feel like there needed to be help signs, or I didn't include them, rather. There might be a stray X somewhere. But, for the most part, I didn't feel it was necessary to really include Ratman duns. There might still be a Ratman character out there, maybe. I sort of want to continue the story in a comic form, as sort of like a sort of anthology, where it's not like a one thing, like, where it's not one continuous, like, progression, but it jumps around a little. But I've had trouble developing, like, stories I want to tell with a comic, but I don't know.
Due to your current mastery of all basic portal functionality, you are eligible to receive control of both portals. Good luck.
This chamber also comes from the Office Job thing I was working on. I really liked the idea of having the chamber split into a smaller room with your ultimate objective, and then the other room having, like, all the other steps to get there, essentially. Like, the exit's still in here, but, like, in order to get over there, besides just hopping over, which we'll talk about anti-cheat stuff I added later, because there is any in this chamber. You can be a speedrunner if you wish. I just thought it was fascinating to have a chamber where your ultimate goal is in the start. The way to achieve the exit is in the starting room, but all the steps to get there are in this room that, by entering and trying to make any progress in, you're trapping yourself in it until you complete all the steps. If that makes sense. Little tidbit, the pellet catcher used to be actually completely aligned with the auto portal, but I changed it to make it harder.
The device you carry can now manufacture both linked portals at once. Did you know that
I'll just
makes it
wait
more
until
valuable
he
than the
finishes his
organs and
line.
combined incomes of everyone? Subject: hometown. Yeah.
This room purely exists to test out your both portals, just like how there's a small little room in Chamber 11 in Portal 1. I don't think I've mentioned it, like, specifically, but this mod, like, for the early levels, I'm pretty sure I've said that it takes a lot of influence from the like, just Portal 1. but it also takes some influence from the developer commentary of Portal 1 and like really the whys and hows. And this next chamber is like a very not so subtle, like nudge nudge in that regards, because in Portal 1 the developers found that players sort of like didn't really think to utilize the momentum mechanics anymore after they got both portals, but so they added Chamber 12 to the lineup specifically to like be, hey, you can still use flinging and you're still going to have to use flinging. And I mirrored this decision in my mod.
This was devised to see if subjects retain the concepts of momentum.
And animate is not subtle about it at all. There's also this where you could where you could die if you're not paying attention. But you can air strafe out of the way, so it's not like a big deal. It's still a little unfair, but it's entirely avoidable.
You've retained the ability to recall basic information about momentum.
A smarter person would just rework the chamber, but, you know.
The red field aligned in the middle of this chamber is an Aperture Science thermal laser grid. It is passable by portal shots and other inorganic matter. However, it cannot be passed by organic materials such as yourself. Use vertical to vertical momentum to work around it.
I'll get to it later. In the next chamber. Also, it's in development, this chamber has had so many realizations that I didn't need to do something. This thermal laser grid is entirely useless because it just leads to acid. So you would die regardless. But it's still supposed to be the introductory chamber. I changed. I'll actually go back to the chamber sign real quick. Also, the first of many convenience panels. I actually changed out the second flinging icon to be a floor-to-floor flinging icon, simply because it's a big part of this mod.
Good work. You've completed a very dangerous test with no complications.
If I ever go back and update the mod again, I think I might replace this grate with another laser grid. I guess I should talk about Animate's dialogue a little. I was not in a good headspace at the time, I'll be honest. So there is a little bit of melodrama in here. But it probably doesn't come across well, because I've never really written characters that well. But Animate is supposed to be a little more intense in this chamber, because of how deadly it is. We'll come back to his thoughts on the test subject later. It doesn't come across at all in the mod.
This is a challenge chamber. It requires you to use skills you've learned so far to open the exit. Good luck.
Chamber-wise, I like to break it down, what's the contents of a chamber I like to break down into, 3 separate categories, sort of. There's the sort of intro chambers, which is 0 through 9, and also 16. And then there's the tutorial chambers, which are a sort of middle ground between the intro chambers and the final exam chambers, which are the third category. And the tutorial chambers are basically they don't necessarily introduce a new puzzle element, but they introduce a new, like, fling type or mechanic. They introduce a new way to use something you've already learned, essentially. Also, parkour. This was in the original concept too, but it was a lot more jankier. And then the final exam chambers is the second example. I guess you could also count chamber 10. Where it's more of it's like how they refer to chamber 13.
Not that we doubted you'd succeed.
How they refer to chamber 13 in the original Portal developer commentary, where it's just sort of a use all the skills you learned, essentially. I mean, this chamber doesn't involve turrets, but you know. The antlines they're kind of tricky. I just opted for this to be your exit indicator because I think it's still obvious enough, and also I just didn't want to deal with having to route two antlines that would inevitably intersect unless I want to go like the long way around. You know what I mean?
As per Enrichment Center regulations on suspense, we are required to inform you that there is a surprise at the end of the chamber.
The test chamber sign ruins the surprise, but spoiler alert, it's turrets. In the prototype version of this mod, I don't know if when we get there it'll still be the same. I did a few updates. I did a few updates to the prototype, not necessarily in preparation for like the full mod, but as sort of like a adjustment. I don't know how to explain it. There's technically two versions of the prototype. One where it's like just the first run of the chambers and it's like 3 big levels, and then one where it's more evenly split up and there's changes to how each level works. In the original prototype, this back wall was the white surface and then the sides were metal. I changed that because people kept thinking they'd have to place a portal here and do a sort of normal fling across, like a floor wall fling, which doesn't work. You can't do it, it's too great of a distance.
Who's there? Target lost.
Surprise!
Would you come over here?
One of many brushes with death that your guide sets up for you.
This is a continuation of the concepts implemented in the previous chamber. On average, it takes a subject around 4 minutes and 26 seconds to complete the chamber.
This is the amount of time he says is like completely arbitrary, by the way. It's just an estimate. You could do it like way faster too, but it's just an arbitrary amount. It's meant to sort of sound like I don't know. It's meant to sound like a reasonable time for someone to figure it out and do the chamber, but you could do it way faster, way slower. I was having a bunch of trouble preventing the player from trapping themselves by just tossing the cube up here and then falling back down. And I went for like a bunch of trigger variations and portal detection variations. until I just settled on a button because I realized how easy that was.
The Enrichment Center confidentiality protocol prevents us from revealing the time prior to the end of the test. Thank you.
If anyone is like, I don't know if that one mod that enables like the portal lighting and allows you to change colors easily. I don't know if that mod would cover this, but if anyone is interested in doing entity like adjustments in Portal 1, I think it would be great if someone would give the portal detector functions, or the portal detector entities, the ability to detect when a portal leaves their volume. I'm honestly like, I'm not gonna do it because decompiling maps is bad. I'm gonna sound hypocritical for saying that in this next chamber, but I really wonder how the Portal Unity portal buttons work. Also, that weird. Standing up here makes that turn orange. I didn't notice that. I'll fix that in a big update that may or may not happen. I don't know yet. What was I gonna say? I wonder how the Portal Unity portal buttons work, because the portal detector entity does not like recognize when a portal leaves its mass. So I assume there's just a bunch of other portal detectors that sort of handle the not case, I guess.
Please move your corporeal form for the Aperture Science Biomass Lifeform Sensor.
I'll talk about what the other former puzzle mechanic, like the former custom puzzle mechanic was for Delta Final when we get to Chamber 20, where it was originally introduced, and we'll talk about why it was removed there. But here's the lifeform sensor, represented by this, and then there's the velocity manipulator, which is behind that door. I know the I'm proud but also annoyed of how the lifeform sensor came out, because I just completely brainstormed the logic behind the lifeform sensor in class one day. Like, I did not test it until I made like a test map, but I came up with the entire logic for the lifeform sensor just brainstorming, like writing something down in my math class or something. God, I hate math class. And I'm really proud of myself for figuring out a system that mostly works, but I'm also annoyed that it's buggy. And you'll see, because you could stop right up in front of it and it'll still work. I don't own Portal Pro, and I don't feel like installing it to really figure out how it works. But I'd assume you probably have to do some sort of trigger shenanigans on both sides rather than just one in the middle. Sorry, Discord message.
Use the lifeform sensor to activate the Aperture Science Spatial Velocity Manipulator.
I did decompile a map to see how this worked, which I'll be honest about that, but mine actually does have a an additional entity in it because I just couldn't figure out how the propulsion system was supposed to work. And I just added a trigger push to make it a lot more reliable.
The Enrichment Center is required to remind you that cake and group will be available after the test.
You'll notice that a lot of the distorted lines of dialogue are centered around danger and or lying to the test subject, which is just because, I don't know, I kind of want to just explain it later, but it's meant to be like a sort of attachment thing where Animate doesn't want to get attached to the test subject. They are trying to distance themselves. They use the royal we a lot for that specific purpose. The royal we is just when like an individual refers to themselves with the we pronoun, or when they when they speak on behalf of like a group, like how Gladys speaks on behalf of Aperture Science a lot, and how Animate does too. And it's supposed to just be like, in this mod, it's just supposed to be him trying to distance himself. He doesn't want to become attached to the test subject, but he ultimately will become such. Also, this is just the unused hydro texture because I thought it looked good. I should probably have made it like, I probably should have scaled it differently. On to Chamber 17. There's technically two versions of Chamber 17, and we'll get to see both of them in this mod. I'll explain more of that later.
If any dizziness and disorientation arises due to your testing cycle, feel free to take a breather.
This chamber is a little confusing for players, because of this whole setup where it turns off the fizzler but enables the lifeform sensor. I don't think people really grasp that well, which is a shame. This is gonna sound bad. I did do playtesting, but I also like, for a lot of the early chambers especially, I just felt mostly confident in my work because it was all based on the developer commentary for Portal 1, which, like, that's just so fine-tuned. I did have a lot of players play this though, both those who were semi-accustomed to Portal and also like a bunch of my friends who had never played Portal in their life, which is probably a really abstract route to go when you're mod developing, but I think it probably helped in the end because the whole idea of the mod is to be like a sort of Portal 1 alternate timeline that goes through the trouble of tutorializing you, so... Energy pellet redirection was also like one of the ideas I wanted to go for. It's not really prevalent in the final mod. There are a few instances of it, but it's not really as widespread as I originally planned. And this chamber is exactly why.
Sometimes test chambers are split into segments. Try to complete these if you can.
Help.
Are
you still there?
I'll just say I'm not satisfied with chamber 18.
Before you, please put me down.
My recording cut off there. I am not particularly fond of Chamber 18. Also, I hope this fling wasn't too hard. You either have to jump into it or just straight up fall into it. It's a little wonky, but I don't know. What was I gonna say? This starting area of Chamber 18 went through a lot of changes. Originally it was going to be an energy pellet redirection puzzle, but players kept getting that, like, they kept getting the solution in unintended ways, essentially. They kept completing the puzzle and redirecting the energy pellet in ways that were not intended. And also it just, I don't know. It was just... this was the point where I was starting to slow down. I'll say that. I was, like, I breezed through chambers 0 through, like, 14 or so, 15. Like, I went through all of the original prototype chambers that were implemented in a snap because I had already had sufficient playtesting material on them. I had already done, like, I thought they were perfect. There wasn't any more workshopping that needed to be done, really. But then after Chamber 15, I slowly started to, like, have issues brainstorming, which was a lot of the development time.
Reaction time.
I need to actually. First introduction of the rocket turret. Secondly, this was one of the casualties. One of the concepts for Chamber 18 was this section called Laserfall, and it was originally a lot bigger. I also didn't mention this behind the scenes alcove area and the and when I went past it, let me just put myself right here, even though you're not supposed to be out here. This is the only Ratman sort of area, and it's not really a Ratman area, it's just a little, like, hole in the wall with no explanation. Originally, one of the concepts for the, One of the concepts for the, let me just load an autosave. One of the concepts was, like, similar to a Portal Unity puzzle where you, but instead of rising up in a tube, you actually just keep falling, and it was basically, first you'd fall into one where you have to get a cube into a funnel, and it would levitate to a button. That was problematic. The cube would often just fall, and in a later puzzle that's coming up, you'll see another implementation that had to be adjusted slightly, or has a special output to it to make it work. There's also a turret section where you just had to destroy one turret really quickly and it would open the door for you. In the end, all that remains is this one area, because it's a good puzzle. And here's our first rocket turret. Which they become important later. This is the part of the game where animate, which stands for... I actually don't remember what it stands for, like, in Final, but one of the original versions that a friend came up with was Artificial Neural Intelligence made as testing engagement. Originally, this was just a just because or a for fun thing, but when I decided to make myself the guide, it was added in, but it does stand for something slightly different in the Final. It's still bad. It's a backronym. We did have another AI idea back when I was prototyping, back when I had a writer, and it was Arias, which was Organic Rationalization Intelligence System. Excuse me. But, you know.
The Enrichment Center will always provide useful advice in dangerous chambers. For instance, you may want to move quickly in this one.
At this point, Animate is becoming slightly more hostile. They know what happens at the end, essentially. We'll get there when we get there. Secondly... this...
Are you still there?
I don't know how you saw me. I hope the rocket turrets aren't too much for players, and I hope that puzzle isn't too hard to figure out. In my opinion, it's sort of hard to how do I put it? Sort of distinguish if a player is struggling, because it's like the level of how much is a player supposed to struggle before it becomes just like, okay, I need to rework this.
Searching. Nap time.
Also, the lights were off when we got in here,
Searching.
which becomes a slightly more common theme as we progress. That's because there are no more scientists. Like, that's obvious. I'll admit I'm a bit bad at this story. I haven't really given exactly a motivation. I'd just say, okay, Animate is a protogen in this mod, which is a furry species that comes from outer space. Like, that's their typical lore. But in this universe, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this though. If I'm not, oh well. But in this universe, Animate is one of a kind. He is, by all definitions, Aperture's attempt at playing God. And they messed up somewhere along the way. So he is a bit unstable. So back to the original point, the lights are off because there are no more scientists. No one is waiting for you from chamber to chamber. It's just Animate who is turning on stuff as you progress and sort of just not making it.
Enrichment Center statistics show that after 4 hours, test subjects begin to show symptoms of isolation. It's true.
That line foreshadows the next chamber. That's why I let him say it. Lost my train of thought though. Animate not really going along, not really making things up as he goes along, but like, he's not really, at this point, he's not really expecting you to get from chamber to chamber. Like, the lift raises up, another subtle detail that he's like entirely at this point not really expecting much more of you. It's complicated. We'll get there when we get there.
Please rescue the Aperture Science weighted companion cube from the velocity manipulator.
And here we are.
This
Originally,
weighted companion cube will accompany you through this test chamber. Please take very good care of it.
Originally, this chamber had a force detection field, which is the same kind of barrier that's in subject name here, when I was prototyping it. But, I just thought it wasn't like a good one. It was introduced way too late. It was just introduced way too late into the game. For it to really be necessary. And two, I just wanted a more extravagant custom puzzle element. If you like get what I mean. Like the force
Symptoms
detection.
most commonly produced by
I forget,
enrichment
he
center
rambles
testing
a lot in this
includes
chamber.
superstitions, perceiving inanimate objects as alive, and abandonment.
More of the real world leaking in, but let's not worry about that. This office is supposed to be dark, essentially. I don't know why the light's still on. but it's supposed to be mostly lit by just actual light coming in from the skylight. I wanted Aperture to feel sort of like open-ish, not like extremely open, like still wanted to give that oppressed vibe, sort of. I think I just played, no I didn't. But at the same time, I wanted it to be sort of like the higher levels had skylights. Originally in the escape, you were supposed to come back here and traverse through these catwalks, but I never like had a way to fit it into the plan. Also, there's an entity up there that like produces a rain particle when you're standing in it, and I really wanted it to be raining up there, but unfortunately it doesn't produce, like I said a few moments before, the caveat is that it does not produce the rain particle if you are not actively standing in it. So to prevent it from looking like it's raining inside, it's up there, but it doesn't, the player never gets to see it. I'm just gonna put you over here because that's where you go. I'll do this one first, even though I'm supposed to technically do that one. I'll just say this area over here changed a lot from the prototype to the final.
The Enrichment Center reminds you that the Furry companion cube is incapable of speech, thought, or any measure of sentience.
Well, we're doing it out of order, but whatever. I'll just say I can't, oops, I accidentally... Portals behave weirdly with the energy pellet. Oh, I swear that better not go in. Okay, good. The energy pellets are weird. That's another reason, that's like the actual reason why the Chamber 18 beginner area got scrapped and changed. One, it was supposed to be like this energy pellet redirection puzzle, and then secondly, it was supposed to be momentum, and then it became what it is today. Also, Chamber 18 is supposed to be the Chamber 15 of this mod, like, structure-wise, but enough rambling about that. Energy pellets can behave weirdly with the edges of portals. They could sort of get caught and be redirected just by, like, the edges of a portal itself, so...
You did it. The way to compare certainly
that would cause unintended side effects.
Nothing lasts forever, and unfortunately, the cube must be euthanized. Please,
I feel...
Thank you for euthanizing the Way companion cube. Testing may continue.
There's a lot more of his lines I should have gone over, but they're mostly just meant to imply that Animate is lonely, but he's sort of covering it up. Also, this chamber observation room is just dark to sort of amplify an ominous atmosphere of sorts. Sort of amplify the fact that you're alone and that you're killing the companion cube. I'd say this is like the final, not easy chamber, but this is the final chamber before the mod really starts trying to punish you. Also, I think they might be in the files. I think I might have recorded them. I never implemented them though. There are supposed to be lines for knocking off the cameras. But with the way I implemented dialogue, I just felt like it would be too complex to account for all of that. So maybe in a future update. Also, this door closes when you leave the chamber, which is not how any other chamber door has acted thus far. This area was supposed to have another skylight, but I didn't get around to adding it Also, this is where the problematic puzzle mechanic comes into
At
hand.
Aperture Science, we do our best to explain our concepts and
I don't know why
technologies
it's
to
not
test
playing. Oh, it probably is.
participants. In order to solve this test, keep this basic pattern in mind. Floor, ceiling, floor.
This is so hard to explain without just getting it confused with the infinite fall, which is just not precise enough. So I tried my best. If there was a better way to explain it, I would. But what you're supposed to do is this. You place a portal up here, in this instance blue, a purple portal down here. I mean, obviously you can interchange which one is which, but you fall into your portal. Of course I'm gonna get funneled towards this one. You fall into the floor portal, and then as you're falling, you shoot the ceiling portal color onto the floor, so you fall into it and you have like double the height, essentially. And that's just so hard to explain in words, and even in pictures. It's hard to explain. But it becomes a movement mechanic from here on out. And here's the hardest one because you actually have to use a I hope I don't get demonetized for swearing, but I'm not getting paid from this anyway, so who cares? I'll probably set up a Ko-Fi or something soon, so feel free to look for that. This was originally a lot easier. This second fizzler and wall right here that divides this area down the middle originally did not exist. Okay, that's gonna fizzle. A drawback of the fact that this isn't just like an actual entity and it's put together for a bunch of different funk brushes and stuff. Well, not. It's just it has to appear in segments if you want to like add to it, essentially. Also, here's what I was talking about, an extra output to a button for this. This button tells the cube to freeze once it's pressed, just so it doesn't go, it doesn't like have issues staying on. Gonna put you here.
Are you still there?
Gonna put you here.
Target sleep mode activated.
And you here.
Activated. Searching.
Okay, it's probably just. Ow.
Target lost. Nap time. Is anyone prey? Are you still there?
Sorry, I'm trying to save turds.
Very excellent work. You'll be required to use these skills in the final tests.
I said this trying to record this before, but it's just kind of weird how this was sort of a unofficial senior project to me. No one assigned me to do this. This wasn't like a school project or anything, but it's a sort of portfolio piece, I guess. Also, I guess I should actually talk about the metal textures now, because this is the chamber that inspired me to redo them. Originally, I just wanted to use this texture, but for these, like, chambers where it's just so much, like, there's so many metal walls and stuff, I was just like, alright, I'll do the other textures, but I made them gray, which kind of makes the brown one stand out, but whatever. But there are a few chambers, like, in the future that now use exclusively gray. Can't speak. Which, I don't know.
This chamber
I just think it fits better.
nature of previous challenges. Only two primary objectives.
I wish I could make the audio louder. I tried. Like, it's so bad. Most of them are at max volume or close to it. I re-recorded the Chamber 21 dialogue 3 times just to try and get it to be louder. Also, this is my favorite late stage chamber. Either this or 25. Alright. And again, these stairs, well, they work, you just have to jump onto the first step, which is a little unfortunate. But it was these puzzles that took the longest, mostly because I had to think about them a lot. Like, I was brainstorming them as I was, I don't know how to describe it, like, a lot of, like, 0 through 15 were, like, already said and done. Like, they were designed and, oh shit. They were designed and it was all said and done by the time the actual, like, porting them over to, what's it called? Rebuilding them in Hammer ever became a thing. Like, they were already said and done, like, it was all already planned out, mostly. Afterwards, it was like a big creator's block struggle to make the remaining chambers, which is why the count fluctuated a lot. Originally, there was supposed to only be 24, like, it would only go up to 24, but I managed to come up with an extra chamber. Again, the lights aren't on when we get in here. He doesn't say anything in this area either. Originally, I used a lot of prefabs to make subject name here, and some of those carried over to, Delta Final. I mean, a few things I would just rebuild on the fly if I needed them, like the auto portal and the pedestal button. Also the like both buttons actually. But oh gosh, I'm gonna have to fix that. I also had this observation room prefab that was taken from, like, Chamber 00 or whatever, but, like, midway through development I was like, okay, designing custom observation rooms is actually really fun. I think by the time you get to Chamber 14 or so, there are no more, or I think there might be just a few more stock, like, just that copy-pasted observation room from Chamber 00 from Portal 1, but a lot of them are customized.
Done. Be advised that the next
Foreshadowing again, because the next test is... I love this chamber.
This chamber is a long-form demonstration of the Aperture Science technologies. Please proceed to the chamber lock.
This was originally what Chamber 17 was going to be until I realized that it was far too big of a jump in difficulty, but I still wanted to include this chamber, so fuck. Okay, okay, cool. That observation room's light is out. Sorry for all the swearing. I haven't spoken to a camera in a long time, so I'm still like, I don't know. I doubt there's a lot of young Portal players that really care about the hows and whys anyway. Whatever. Originally, the doors were supposed to close, but I realized that didn't make any sense because it's just one long funnel, and having the doors close would mean that it effectively, although nothing would happen in game because it's just one long brush that doesn't need to be bothered by doors, in universe, logic-wise, it wouldn't make sense. Also, the laser grid was added back because this was originally just a door that opened and closed. But I was like, hey, we should use the laser grid because we haven't used it in a while. The laser grid is actually the most underutilized mechanic of this whole mod, because it only appears in, let's see, 12, 17, 18, and 23. I think it might appear in 25, I'm not sure. It appears in the boss fight, which I'm proud of, but is also super difficult.
The experiment is nearing its conclusion. The Enrichment Center is required to remind you that you'll be baked a cake.
Again, about the royal we, he uses it to distance himself from the test subject and to appear more professional. He's not really attempting to sound like a pre-recorded message. He's just trying to be distant. If he does sound like a pre-recorded message, it's sort of in-universe unintentional. I didn't really pay any mind to it, but it is. I don't mind it being seen that way. But he says that he says I here, and then he catches himself.
Searching. Hello. Searching.
Similar to Gladys having a breakdown in Chamber 19 when we escaped.
Put me down. Searching. Goodbye. Searching.
This chamber, I made the entrance area in this and this area first, and then I made the meat of the puzzle last. But I was really attached to the idea of the entrance and exit and how they looked. This is a play on a part of the 24 prototype, the Chamber 24 prototype, which was the last puzzle in the game at that point. Where you have a cube guarded, it's down a few stairs, but it's also guarded by turrets and you have to deal with them. And this is just a sort of better way. They're also slightly angled at you, which makes them more annoying, but that's also intended. I actually need to be in here. And we get the cube. I hope that the audio hasn't desynced anywhere in this version, because I probably will just not bother to fix it this time. I really was going to try and just edit the audio back into place the last time I recorded this, but it was just so tedious, and it was like, it wasn't just like off by a few seconds and that was it. Like it started sort of in place, like only like a few frames behind, and it slowly got worse. So it was like exponentially getting worse in the last recording. So I had to re-record everything. This is a play on another area that actually used to be a part of, I don't remember what chamber it was. Chamber 18. It was the prototype version of Chamber 18.
There you are. Are you still there?
But it was a lot. Was it Chamber 18? I think it might have been Chamber 19, actually. I have no idea. I'll get back to the chamber count when we get to the prototype, which I might be able to record this week, but I also might not be.
Welcome to the final test chamber. We here at Aperture are very impressed that you have made it this far. We look forward to seeing your monumental success and completion of the entire sequence.
Searching. Good night.
This is
Come over
done a redux version of a chamber I did for Portal Beginners Edition that was called the Final Challenge, because it was the final map in that set. It's done a lot. I'd like to say it's done a lot better in this version. Here I go, getting stuck in a loop. There are still problems, obviously. It's a little unsatisfying that there is no life form sensor, which I meant to talk about. All of the life form sensors after Chamber 16 and also 17, you're essentially forced to deal with them. Like, they're either on a ceiling or a floor and you're being pushed through them, or like you're either being pushed through them or you have to, like, you can't stop in the middle of them, which is a counter cheating measure. A pretty terrible one, but still.
Please put me down. Are you still there? Target lost. Good night.
So I'll just say it now before we actually get there, because we are about to get to it. At this point, Animate is
velocity manipulator to reach the equipment recovery annex.
perfect timing. At this point, Animate has grown attached to you, but he also knows that by completing the test, he has to let you leave, or you're supposed to leave, essentially. But he's grown attached to you, and it hurts now. He's going to be alone again if you leave. So instead of letting you leave, it's just better in his mind, because again, Aperture made him buggy. He just decides to kill you instead.
Sequence. Aperture Science takes this opportunity to remind you that we reserve the right to continue manufacturing and testing our equipment, regardless of what happens to the test subject, as per agreement in the Aperture Science OSHA exemption contract. I'm really glad and impressed that you made it the whole way through, but I can't just let another abandoner leave me. Thank you for participating in this Aperture Science computer-aided enrichment activity. Goodbye.
Originally you were supposed to shoot out this panel that you fling on, but, I thought that would just take too long. Also, there will be... I need to fix that too. The acid, it was hard to actually get the acid to, be quick, but also not unfair.
What? No. Thank you for participating in this Aperture Science computer. You've passed the very
Nothing in
final
here.
challenge
Obvious.
where we pretended to be evil and wanting to kill you. We're very glad you passed.
Alright, let's do this again.
Please lay on your stomach, arms at your sides, and Aperture Science best party associate professional.
Hey,
Attempts to leave the testing area.
And now he's trying to make us come back. He's doing the thing Gladys did.
please put me down.
This is a little
Are you
storage
still
area.
there?
It's meant to... These initial
Keep
backstage
mode
areas are meant to, sort of be like,
Would you come
and-
over here?
Would you shut up, please? They're an extension of the test chambers. Like, they're meant to be supply areas and stuff. I wonder, can you guess what this is? I'll give you a few seconds to guess. It's actually the light box. One of the light boxes that is in all the chamber locks. Which I should have talked about the Chamber 8 light box, entry light box, because the wall, not the wall, well, yeah, the pushed out wall has all of its internal, like, the behind the scenes area to it is right on top of the entrance hallway, so there's a little, like, a few extra details, like some pipes and wiring in there to make it seem like it still works. Before we go in there, I'm sort of dissatisfied with this hallway because I kind of wanted to make all of the observation rooms have pristine, like, be connected by pristine office hallways. But again, just how things turned out. Maybe in a revamp, but here is where the rocket turrets go from, like, this was the idea to re-include rocket turrets in this section, because when we first see the rocket turrets, they are this indestructible threat. We have to avoid them. That is the only solution to not being killed by them, just running and not staying still around them. They serve basically no purpose other than to be an obstacle. And here's where the tables turn.
Please move into the chamber and remain there until Aperture Science personnel come to collect you. We will provide cake and grief counseling.
There's the draw right there.
collection.
Gotta fix that too.
Further attempts to leave the testing area will be met with hostile force.
But here's where the tables turn. We see this rocket turret break glass, and there is a glass panel right here. So for the first time, we get to actually use the rocket turrets to our advantage, which becomes an integral part of the story, or an integral part of the boss. Alright. This area,
Please place the device on the ground and lie on your stomach with your arms at your
Are
sides.
you still there?
this is the final test chamber adjacent area of the behind the stage portion of the escape,
Activated.
which obviously you don't really get to know because there's not really an indicator anywhere.
Hibernating.
Also, I dislike Portal 2's backstage, and to an extent also dislike Portal 1's. Because they just have so many rooms in them that serve no purpose. Like, they logically just shouldn't exist. And it's like, I don't know, I have this sort of like, I like it when things are weird because we simply can't understand them, compared to things are weird just for the sake of being weird, if you know what I mean. Like, it's a lot more interesting to me when something is strange simply because it's something we don't have, like, the context for, compared to something that was made just to, like, be weird, essentially. And I wanted to make a lot of behind-the-scenes Aperture walkable, like, seem walkable, but we still have to use the portal gun to detour a lot. So it's kind of annoying, and I will fix this eventually. Again, if there is ever another update to the mod, it will simply be it'll be a lot of fixes, but I don't want to do any more updates that are just like one at a time patches, if you know what I mean.
There you are. Searching.
What else?
Goodbye. Would you come over here?
There is no door down there. That's what I was gonna say.
Put me down.
And here's where Animate, our beloved guide, becomes outright hostile. I mean, the escape.
Neither of us wants that to happen, do we? What are you even doing?
I mean,
Searching. Target base. Target lost. Searching. Who are you? Goodbye.
I mean, they were trying to kill us in the acid pit, but at the same time, this is
You
where
haven't escaped, you know. You're just making things more
Searching.
complicated for yourself. I'd advise you to
Hello?
just turn back. I'm not angry, exactly. Just come on back.
Are you still there? There you are.
this is the
Uh-oh.
point of the mod where he becomes like agitated with you and is like, okay, no more, nice.
Searching.
This is one of Aperture Science's parking lots, as you can guess. I'd like to imagine this version of Aperture Science has a few, like, underground parking lots, but there's also just, like, a bunch of the, big above-ground ones. Also, we can't leave because, the exit has been locked from the central computer. I had a friend ask me, because Animate is a protogen, and you know, protogens are capable of moving, why doesn't Animate just come after you in the escape sequence? And he could. Like, in universe, he totally could. It's just, I'm not good at pathfinding or NPC editing or anything. So that was like that's beyond the scope of my skills at the moment. So it was just better to have the player not be pursued. And here's where behind the scenes begins to blend with Office. A bunch of tubes. And another background area. I haven't been pointing them out, but they're I wanted to do something different. A lot of mods don't really do this, but I mean, a lot of Portal 2 ones do, but a lot of Portal 1 mods don't update the background often. I wanted to update the background. Just gas down on here, which isn't very clever, but you know. Let me turn it off. There is actually one cut background map which shows the chamber 18 exit. Which it was just not used because it would have been like... Alright, I already pressed this, sorry. It would just have been like way too short of a usage time. Also, here's this image. It's a bunch of my friends and I in VR chat, so I thought I'd include it just as an Easter egg. And here's the second skylight of the mod. Like I said, there was originally going to be a few more. And we're just like... We're in this bridge area, essentially, where we're leaving all the maintenance areas behind, and we are heading for the office space, essentially. And this was in the prototype.
Please put me
But
down.
there's actually a sort of
Searching.
a development... There's actually a sort of development gag over here.
Good night.
Originally the player would like enter through
Sentry
here,
mode
and then they would
activated.
have to go find like a security office to disable an override on this elevator over here, and they'd like press this button and go up. But obviously this elevator doesn't do anything in the final version. It's just here to be on display. Instead, actually, I'll let you break this glass. You're a lot easier to do. I don't know why it gets stuck there. I think I might have at one point intended to include an Easter egg in here, but I don't remember. What happens if I press on this? Nothing. Cool. Here's the break room. This door now... Oh, it doesn't. It's gonna say. Also, this comes to life and this happens. Again, none of these doors can be open. They're all just meant to help sell the fact that you're in the office spaces now.
Hey. Are you still there? Now, hey. Searching. Target lost.
And another elevator we can't use. But then we see this. And now it's time. Admittance to authorized personnel only. The lobby was originally supposed to be a lot bigger. It was supposed to be a good many floors tall, and it was supposed to have a skylight in prototype. And it sort of gave the implication that, like, although they weren't equal amounts, aperture did extend a bit, like a good few floors above ground, as well as like the infinite many floors below. But it was shrunken down, and I quite like it. I'd like to imagine that back here is some way to get into the test chambers. Like, there's somewhere, maybe that elevator up there actually is where they funnel all the test subjects. And then over here we have like a sort of guard desk, I guess. Like, this is the main reception desk, but you also have here for like getting in. And we can't leave. The button doesn't do anything. We're just forced to pursue this elevator. Alright. Here we are. It feels good to be here. I like to imagine that this area wasn't actually built out, like, in the early days of Aperture Science. It probably just had, like, there's probably a door on the wall that people, like, another, I'll show you when I get back to the lobby. These turrets,
Put me down.
originally there used to be, like, 2 turret cabinets in the, boss fight arena itself, like when you walked in. And it's funny that it's sort of funny that I removed them, only to add in like secret turret compartments in the side rooms. But here we go.
There you are. Coming all this way just to find me? No, that's not why you're here. You want me to unlock the lobby doors. I wouldn't have come in here if I were you, just for all that. Now you can't even turn back.
The timing on that first animation, like how he moves to the line, is entirely coincidental. Like, I wanted him to move to the line, but there wasn't really any effort I put into, like, making it sync up. One of these... Oh, I guess they're both gonna play their animation.
You had every opportunity to succeed. You can still do that right now, in fact. We can go back to testing. Forget the whole plan to kill you thing ever happened. I just need a moment to disable the thermal laser fields.
He says he's gonna disable the lasers. In universe he would eventually, but like in game he doesn't. Like, I guess there's just supposed, I don't know how to describe it, but like there's supposed to be little to no time between you pressing the button and setting up your rockets again, compared to ow. So much for a note. Well, I mean, I already died earlier. Go over here.
Fair. You must think you're clever, but you aren't. I've been alone too long. This isn't even brave of you. You're abandoning me. You don't even care, do you? Well,
Sorry, I'm having to focus on boss fight.
I'm done.
It is meant to be particularly hard. So the facility is about to explode. And there's nothing you can really do about it until
You must
he comes back online and saves it.
damage. Nothing permanent at all. I'm
No,
real.
nothing works
You
anymore.
know that, right? Real and sorry. Just go. I've disabled the security measures in the lobby. You can just leave. Goodbye, my test subject.
This chamber was semi-based on a Gary's Mod art piece I did that I don't think I published anywhere. It was also just as, like, a lot of it was designed purely circumstantially. Like, all the pipes are just to prevent you from getting a shot in from anywhere else. The incinerator has no purpose. There is no condition to open it or anything. It's just here purely to be like, a sort of ease of access, I guess, if you could say that. Like, the scientists might have maybe put it in here as some sort of safety precaution, like they put in these buttons. Like, it's just here for convenience for animate and stuff, I guess, is a good way to put it. And he no longer has any dialogue. Do I have anything else to say? The portal gun works in the chamber still, but once you leave, like, there's a no portal volume in here that prevents any portal placement. Just because you don't need it. Also to prevent you from trapping yourself down here. And up we go. The door is open. Nothing can stop us now. Animate has apologized, and he genuinely means it. He's realized that he can't just keep you here. It would be wrong. Before we get to the credits, because that is the last thing we have to do, originally I wanted to sing a cover of Human Songs, which is my favorite song, because I feel like it... more melodrama, but I feel like it relates a lot to Animate as a guide, like the character. Obviously I also go by Animate, but, you know. But I feel like it relates to him as a guide. And it also relates to a few personal struggles I had during the time. But, of course, like, there just wasn't enough. Like, there's not enough credits to stretch out. And canonically, Chell rushes over here and does hitchhiking and stuff. The mod takes place in the early 2010s, by the way. Like, 2013, which means this music shouldn't be playing, but you know. Or shouldn't exist yet, but you know. That's supposed to be transparent. This, I wanted to handle this menu a little bit differently than the others. This menu isn't assigned to any, chapter. The game is told to load it only for completing it via the credits. Fire, AG can, disable, and then if I, oh wait, I actually have to, do this, and then I could do this. And we could explore the map. It's just another copy of the lobby and the parking lot. Animate, this is just Gladys's body minus the head and a few other things, but it is technically part of Animate's model, and it's just put all the way over here. to prevent it from being seen, because this is supposed to be like, oh look, you can detach. And then it's a nice beautiful day out. What time of day that the mod takes place is, I'll say it's up for debate. It could be night, or it could just be a really, like, gloomy day. But it does take place over, like, the course of less than one day, essentially. Or at least no more than 24 hours. Like, obviously, it probably doesn't even take 24 hours, but it's not... Like, the course of the mod... Like, the course of the mod's events doesn't take that long. Yeah.